So we've done quite a big update to the Djaa Maasta instrument. We've added in this new double track feature and we've optimized the instrument a bit more. So just to give you a taster, this double tracking feature is a true double tracking where unique samples are played on each side. So you never have any samples collapsing to mono from playing at the same time. And obviously another benefit of using a double track feature like this is that you have less CPU usage as you're using less instances of the instrument. So now let me walk you through the instrument. So I'm just using Studio One here for demonstration purposes. And under my instruments, you can see that there's the audio unit and the VST. I'm just going to instantiate the VST instance. So as you load that up, you see that it prepares the instrument. What it's doing here is it's loading all these samples up for you, and then we can go through the interface and see what we can do. And with your buffer size in your DAW, I'd recommend using 256 samples. You can go down to 128 samples, that's what I use, but if you find that your system's taking a bit of strain, then definitely bump that up to 256 samples. And if you're using multiple instances and you get into the mixing stage, then you'll definitely need to increase this buffer size up to 128 samples. Okay, so as you open up, you've got this beautiful picture here of the instrument that we sampled. On the right over here, you have all the articulations that you can use for the instrument. We've got 11 articulations and then this master performance patch that I'll show you. Over here, you've got an envelope section, so you can change the attack, the sustain, the decay, and the release of the notes, but these have been set optimally for its performance, and if you want to, you can go in and tweak it. Then you can set a pitch bend. This is anywhere from 1 to 12 semitones. I quite like to set it to 2, and I can automate in some pitch bends to create some sort of bend effects like your bend notes on guitar. Then we have also included a volume fader over here. We've chosen the optimum level that you're really getting punch when you load up this instrument. But if you do feel that you need to drop the level, you can go in here and drop that level. So it acts like a clean boost, so you can choose how much of your clean signal you want to push into your guitar chain. Now let's go over to the articulations and then we'll go over the double tracker feature. So starting off, you've got sustains. So I'll click on sustain to load up that articulation and then play. And you're already hearing that double tracker feature in action. For example, if I switch over to left, that's in mono. And if I switch to double tracker, you're getting that double track feature. Now we'll get more into that in detail as we get through this video. Now, sustain has got sustain playing with up picks and down picks. But if you switch over to sustain down, this is only the down picks. And another thing to point out is as I play a note here, these are on these white keys over here, and that's showing the range of the instrument. So we've sampled this instrument all the way down to F#0. But what we've done with the instrument is we've shifted up the notes a whole octave so that we can fit everything in on this keyboard. So if I'm playing F#1, I'm actually playing F#0. So we've got this instrument that's sampled from F#0, and we've sampled it up a whole 4 octaves here, all the way up to the highest note here, which is A#4. And this instrument includes 18,232 samples. So this is a huge instrument that we've sampled, but we have optimized the samples so that you have quick loading time and it doesn't take up a huge amount of disk space on your machine. Now, moving over to the next articulation, we've got your chug. But to demonstrate this a bit better, let's load up an instance of the 1111 so we've got some distortion with the guitar as well. So I'm just going to load up an instance over there. And the trick with this when using it is to switch it over to stereo mode, and as well just to flip over to the back and just make sure that the resonances are both down. So that's all good. So if you're using the 1111, those are just the settings that you need to use. And what I like with this instrument is just to turn down the gain preamp slightly. So now I've got our chugs. And if you've got some headphones on, you're definitely going to hear this double track feature where when you're playing samples, you're hearing different samples playing back on the left and the right. As well, we've got CHUGS down pick. So this CHUGS includes up and down picks, where this is only down picks. Now I'm going to switch over to harmonics. And as I switch over here, you'll see that the key range changes for those notes. So with different articulations, we've got different ranges of notes. So over here, we've got the harmonics. Then we've got tapping. We've got pinched harmonic bends. Then there's also pinched harmonic vibrato. Then tremolos. Now what's quite nice about the tremolo picking articulation is that it's a looping sample. So for however long you hold down a note, it's going to have that tremolo. Then we've got fast bends, which is a very fast bend that we've captured. So you could automate in pitch bends, but this is a nice fast articulation that you can switch to get those really fast bends. And then finally, we've got the effects section. So these are non-pitched guitar noises and sounds that we've tracked. Like pick scrapes of theirs, you can hear. There's some open behind the nut noises. And a whole bunch of different other noises that you can incorporate into your productions. Now let's move over onto the double track feature. So as I've shown you, when you play a note, so let's just switch over to sustain. It's playing different samples on the left and the right. So you're never going to have any samples that are collapsing to mono. Now, if you want to have two instances of the Djaa Maasta, for example, you want to load up two instruments, pan one to the left and pan one to the right, then you can use the left and right mode. So you'll load up an instrument, you'll pan this to the left, you'll load up another instrument. On this, I'll copy across the same instance of the 1111. And on this, I'll change it to sustain and change the mode to right. Now, I'm on this instrument that has the right instrument, but if I'm playing it, the audio is still coming through in the center because I haven't changed the panning. Now, basically, the difference between left and right mode is you telling the instrument which sample sets to choose. So by setting one instrument to the right and one to the left, which means you'll never have them playing the same samples and they'll never collapse to mono. So that's just one way of working. If you want two different instruments of the Djaa Maasta, then just set their modes. Now, you can either do the panning on the instrument track in your DAW, but you've also got the option to do panning on the instrument. So I can take this instrument that's in right mode and also pan it to the right. Same with the left, I can go there and change the panning. Or if I've got the instrument set in double mode and I want to choose the panning to go to the left, I could do that as well. So you've got that flexibility there of choosing the mode, choosing the panning with the instrument, or if you prefer, you can do the panning within your DAW. Now let me show you how this master performance patch works. So if I choose that, with this patch, we've got multiple articulations loaded up within this one performance patch. We've got sustains with different velocity layers, we've got chugs with different velocity layers, and then at your highest velocity layer, we've got the pinch harmonic, and at the lowest velocity layer, we've got dead mutes. And another thing to point out is that we've sampled multiple different velocity layers with the articulations. For example, with the chugs, we've got 4 different velocity layers. So we've got some very low velocity layers all the way to a very high velocity layer where you can really get a lot of punch out of those chugs. So going back to the master patch, what I want to do is just draw in a MIDI part and then go into that MIDI part, write in a note. I'll just write a note in on C3. But that's actually C2 because we've shifted up an octave. And I want to show you how this performance patch works with velocity. So here, if I drag this all the way to the bottom, we got dead mutes here. As I bring it up, we got our chugs with their different velocity layers. And then you get to your sustains. And then all the way at the top, we've got your pinched harmonics. So the nice thing is that you can program in or record in a MIDI part and then afterwards go in and adjust the velocities to get more performance out of the instruments. Now, another thing I want to talk about is your key switching. So if we go back to the instruments, over here on these yellow notes are the key switching notes that we can use to switch the articulations. So if I click over here, you see that that's the master patch. This is the sustain, sustain down, all the way through to the other articulations. So if you like the key switching method, you can play these notes before you hit a note or program in key switching notes to switch the articulation of the instrument. So that gives you a rundown of the updated version of the Djaa Maasta. Now let me show you an action on how you can really take it to the max by using the different types of articulations in your performance to get a very expressive instrument. So what I've got here is a guitar using the Djaa Maasta, another guitar, then also the Djaa Maasta played as a bass, and then some drums and some sound effects. But let me just quickly jump over here, and I'm going to just select the MIDI note data. And on Studio One, I've got this great feature here where I can use the sound variations to switch the articulations. And I just want to show you how it switches these articulations, and you can get quite expressive with this instrument. So take a listen here. So if we just zoom in here, I've got effects in the beginning, some downpick chugs, some more effects here, some more chugs, a sustain note, more effects, some tremolo picking, and some sustain and effects. As well, if I just go over to the pitch bend, I've got some crazy pitch bends over here. So just take a listen again. Pitch bend. And then a low pitch bend. So that's giving me a taster on how far you can actually take this instrument when you start programming in specific types of articulation switching and get quite expressive with things like pitch bend and other stuff that you have available to you on the instrument. And it doesn't have to be just for guitar. If you take a listen here, I've programmed in a bass that's playing a bass tone using the Djaa Maasta. And with the guitar, okay, so now that you get a taste of what it can do with guitar and bass, let's hear it within a full production. So here is with some drums and some sound effects. Take a listen. And check here, it's going to hit a low F sharp 0. So that's it for the Djaa Maasta instrument. I hope you have a much better understanding on how this instrument works, and we can't wait to hear how you use it in your songs and productions.